I have to say, right up front, after all of these years, I really didn't expect to see a remaster of Klonoa. I played the first game back in the day on the PlayStation 1 and it was a great little platformer. The second game was released on the PlayStation 2 and while it wasn't as special to me as the original, it was still a pretty good game for the time. There are tons of elements from those games that I still remember 25 years later. The visuals, the music, and the sound effects are so deeply ingrained in me at this point that it was such a great feeling to see and hear them again in the modern day. That said, with remasters, ports, and publishers being what they are these days, I was kinda worried that they would mess it up quite frankly, or simply put no effort into the project at all. Now granted, I've only played the demo at this point, but from what I've experienced, I'd say it's probably worth picking up the full game if you can. So who or what is Klonoa and what is the Phantasy Reverie Series? Well, essentially this package contains 2 remasters of the original 2 games that we got in the West. That's Klonoa Door to Phantomile from 1997 and Klonoa 2 Lunatea's Veil from 2001. Both games have been remastered with improved character models, textures, graphics, and sounds. They also added co-op, difficulty selection, they play in 60 FPS, and display in up to 4K resolution in certain situations. In both games you take control of the title character, Klonoa, although he does look a little different and older in the second game, which does make sense. Apparently his look combines aspects of cats, dogs, and rabbits, but he's never said to be any specific type of animal. The story in the first game is a very simple one where Klonoa has to save the dream world of Phantomile from being turned into a nightmare world by an evil spirit. It's not much to go on I suppose, but I'll take it. The second game is a separate adventure where Klonoa is joined by a new cast of characters in order to save the world of Lunatea and unveil the mysteries within. The demo allows you to play through 2 levels from the first game and 1 from the second game, which does give you a good taste of what to expect from both titles. The games are very similar, so if you enjoy one, you'll probably enjoy the other, although I felt like Klonoa's movement was slower in the second game, although I think it may have always been that way. In terms of gameplay, it's mostly a 2D side-scrolling platforming game, and although each and every level is visually presented as 2.5D, there's actually very little 2.5D interaction. You move through the levels, collecting gems, killing bad guys, finding secrets, and generally just trying to get to the end. Klonoa comes equipped with his famous wind ring, which can shoot enemies, puff them up, and pull them towards him. He can then carry them, throw them at other enemies, or use them to double jump to reach higher areas. The game does keep track of everything you collect during a level, and you can revisit these levels on the game's map to try to 100% each one of them. I do think that what you're doing from moment to moment is kinda simplistic, and it got me thinking. I wonder how many new fans this remaster is going to bring in. I mean, sure, some people will pick this game up even if they've never heard of it before, but I just don't know if these games really hold up in 2022, despite being quite charming. I personally do like them, but that's because I already know them quite well, and I'm not saying they're bad of course, I just don't really know how well it's going to do with the younger generation. That said, the remastered graphics are quite nice, they're sharp, the colours really pop, and I think they've managed to keep the feel of the originals without completely removing the charm. It's a very easy thing to do to just throw things like charm and atmosphere out the window in favour of quote better visuals, but I do think this is a pretty well done remaster. The one thing I found that I wasn't too happy with was just this pixel filter option. I personally think this looks really ugly and it's objectively not what the original games looked like at all. I mean, it's there if you want to try it out, but I wouldn't recommend it. Overall though, the game plays just as I remember, they sound exactly as they should, plus they look really nice and run really well, so I guess it's probably a safe bet to pick up the full game at this point, if you're interested in it. The demo is available right now on all systems and the full game is widely available physically on current and last gen consoles. It's also available on PC via download. In my opinion, this demo does a very good job of showing you exactly what you're getting with the remasters packed into the Klonoa Phantasy Reverie series. They look, sound, and play very well indeed, and if the full game has no hidden issues that I'm not aware of, I'd say it's a remaster worth owning. Ultimately, I'd have to imagine that this is a remaster that was aimed at fans of the originals. The older copies of the Klonoa games have become quite collectible and valuable over the years, so it's nice to have an easily accessible, updated version of them. The Game Boy Advance Klonoa games are also very popular, and I can't imagine it would have taken much work to include those in this package, but I guess you can't have everything. Either way, I enjoyed the demo quite a lot, and I'd say that if you're an old school fan, you should probably pick this up if you haven't already. On the other hand, if you're new to the series, I would absolutely recommend playing the demo first. That way, you can try before you buy, and I think that's something that's becoming increasingly important in the gaming industry. If you enjoy the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.